It's hard to contain your excitement when you get something you've really wanted. Like the gold standard in automotive protection, WeatherTech floor liners. With deep sculpted channels and laser measured for total protection in the front, back, and even up the sides.
Dad, you're going viral.
What? WeatherTech me.
So don't be shy, enjoy. Order your premium American-made products at WeatherTech.com.
With few slow corners and lots of long straights, the flat sixes will sing today at Watkins Glen. It's time for qualifying in the Porsche Sprint Challenge North America GT3 Cup Series by Yokohama. I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is former racer Joey Atterbury. Joey, with almost 7 decades of history, this place has really racked up some stories.
Absolutely, and speaking of stories, let's take a look at where they are all made here. Just outside of the Finger Lakes in upstate New York lies a 3.45-mile amazing racetrack, and elevation is abundant here. We are in qualifying, so a couple key areas to look out for. Turn number 1, you got to get the run on the exit because it powers you all the way up through the S's and towards that back straightaway. And of course the inner loop, a very fast lane change maneuver section where the drivers are having to handle the car as the weight shifts back, right, left, and back to the right again. And then the boot section, one of the more technical areas on this racetrack. You got to nail every single corner here, Joe, but I think the most important part about Watkins Glen is keeping the speed up, and these race cars are fast around here.
They really are. Now, if you haven't been tuning in so far this season for the qualifying, keep in mind that the Cup cars do split it up into 2 groups to make sure everybody has enough space out there. So this is the first group, and they'll get these 20 minutes. Then we'll send out the second group, and they will combine the times to set up the grid. Right now, we're just waiting for these warm-up laps to finish up. This is our current points leader in the Masters category, Scott Blend, who's already had a race in this weekend, as we had a makeup race yesterday for the Road America round. So he's had some time on track, rebounded with a victory, and I'm sure he's looking to maybe take pole again today.
Getting a couple of these shots of all of the cars warming up their tires, warming up their equipment. You see them kind of weaving left, weaving right. It's kind of a double purpose out there. They're cleaning the surface of the tire, so that's nice. When you have it all loaded up on one side, it really kind of scrapes off any extra rubber. And not only are they doing that, but it also is providing tire temperature, which is building the air pressures inside there. Usually it takes about a lap or so for everything to get up to that temperature and then finally stabilize. What I think is probably going to be a little bit tricky. Yeah, here we go. Scott Blend's going to back it up just a little bit, at least in my opinion. I want a nice, clean racetrack out my windshield to start a qualifying lap. I don't want to be chasing anybody. If they make a mistake, it can affect you as well.
Yeah, and I think that was Gilliland that we saw that was a little bit stuck up behind him, so he also had to back up. But drivers now starting those flying laps. Watch out at turn 1 here. Not only do they need that exit, but they need to stay 2 wheels or at least 1 wheel in contact of that curbing on the exit of the corner. If you go beyond that, the lap will be deleted. They also have some limits out there for turn 8 and turn 10 that race control is watching. Everything else here, pretty much self-policing.
This is up at the top of the back straightaway, and then these cars and drivers have to literally fly their way through this inner loop chicane section, using up every single apex curb. And this is the outer loop. Look at how long this right-hander is. And then we dived off into the boot section. The NASCAR short course goes right after the carousel, and we actually go down the hill into what is known as the laces, the toe, and the heel.
So I'm looking through, and Dyshelski was looking quick initially, although now I don't see his sector times, so that's interesting. Alan Metney, though, is back once again in the Masters category, and he is quickest in Sector 1. Looks like Scott Blend quickest in Sector 2, so we're getting a little bit of a split between them. We'll wait for those first times to get onto the board, as now we hop on board with Groombridge.
Yeah, he's coming up to this inner loop here. Look at the speedometer, 161 miles an hour before he actually got on the brakes there, in a rolling speed, minimum rolling speed of about 89 miles an hour. So I know that some of these faster cars up towards the front of the field were doing about 100, maybe 101 mile an hour minimum rolling speed through that chicane section. And not only are you having to deal with the weight transfer from the left to the right, back to the left, but you're also jumping over those curbs. There's a lot going on.
So apologies to Alan Metney. He's actually racing in the Pro-Am and not the Masters, so I added a few years to him, unfortunately, before they were merited. Meanwhile, Groombridge had what seemed to be some troubles yesterday. The car was a little bit off pace, went a lap down in the end, and didn't really have the result that he wanted. So a rebound today, a second try. Not only that, a second and a third try, since we do have 2 races, one this afternoon and one tomorrow. For these GT3 Cup cars. But let's see what his times look like, as he is setting personal best, but this might be, yes, this is his first flying lap, so that doesn't really tell us anything about his time. While Scott Blend is quickest, Alan Metney is second fastest, and there is 46 thousandths of a second between them.
I'm actually going to kind of cross-reference the practice times to what we've got here in qualifying so far, because like you said, Scott Blend leading the way, 148.714. But did you see how close Metney is behind there, that lap time? 4/100ths of a second behind. I know that it is a Masters class car and a Pro-Am class car, but it doesn't really get much closer than that.
It's also going to be fascinating because now, for the first time, we have Metney, Kolklek, and Dyshelski out there racing at once. Dyshelski had only showed up at VIR, and that was at the point at which we lost Alan Metney, who has been the main rival for Kolklek. But all 3 of these drivers theoretically have been close on pace since they always seem to wind up near one another when they're on track. But we've never seen all 3 together in the same car at once.
And just as you say that, Metni overtakes the top spot, provisional pole position as we ride on board with Therese Lalu through turn number 1. That was a great example of what you were talking about, Joe Peak. All the runoff out there on drivers left at the exit of turn number 1. It's out there in case you need it, but if you want a lap time, you got to stay on the racetrack.
Yeah, and they can take as many of those deleted laps as they want, but obviously you need at least 2 of them out here for the weekend to set yourself on the grid. Now, Therese is having a great qualifying right now, and she's admitted in the past that qualifying is not her strong suit, but she's sitting 2nd in class and 4th overall, but it's early stages, so let's watch and see if she can hold on to this. This will be a real coup.
That lap time that you were just mentioning, a 1:49.4 from Therese, so that's a pretty solid time. The fastest we've got is a 48.0, and looking at her first sector here on this next lap, doesn't look like she's improving, but what I do see on my timing and scoring is Metni just went purple in Sector 2. He's already on top of the board, and he's looking to go even faster.
Now, Blend has already had multiple laps, but one of them has been validated, so I think he should still stay up there where he sits. It was only lap 3, and then car 297 also had a lap deleted. I'm trying to find who that is. That is Lapp, Eric Lapp. He does not seem to have a time yet, though. No, he has one on the board, but he's showing as non-competing. So I wonder if he's already parked it and called it a day for some reason. We'll have to dig up some info on that, see why he's marked as not on the track right now. Regardless, we continue to watch Therese bring her favorite car, Dory, around to the line. Let's see if this is any sort of improvement. And it doesn't look like it. She's going to stay 5th. She's been bumped down to 3rd as Dave Musial 2.0 has moved up into that 2nd spot.
And I had mentioned that Metni had gone purple that prior lap. He did not improve his lap time, but I think most importantly, it was a 48.4. So he now has 2 times that are actually clear of everybody else.
The one that we don't see in this group is Cole Kleck. He's going to be in Group 2, so we'll keep track of that and try to make out who is on pole for this one after that 2nd session is over. But Dashelski's nowhere near Metni as it sits right now, still down in 6th overall and 4th in that Pro-Am class. Seeing some personal bests from Dave Musial 2.0. Like I said, he sits 2nd in class, but he's about 1.1 seconds off of Metni, so he needs a massive improvement if he wants to go forward in class. That said, it's only about 4/10 for him to get up to Gilliland, and as I was just talking about Dashelski, he now takes that 4th spot overall.
Riding on board, like you said, with Dave Musial 2.0 here as we kind of round out this lap at Watkins Glen. Fighting the car just a little bit there in turn number 10. It is just so gosh dang fast. And then look at that 90-mile-an-hour minimum rolling speed in turn number 11. I always tell people Watkins Glen is fast, but between all of the additions and curbings and whatnot, it just blows my mind how fast this place really is. And like you said, he just jumped up a huge amount.
Wow. I did not expect that. He actually jumped up to 2nd position. He's about half a second behind Metni, so he's still got some work to do. But I think we got a fascinating battle forming, and we still have half of this first group to go with 10 minutes left because Dashelski went purple in the first sector. He is on a very good lap right now, but that's just the first one. Can he follow it up with Sector 2 and Sector 3? Musial 2.0 is still setting personal bests on this time as Metni has come into pit lane along with Blend and Gilliland. So there's 3 cars that could return, but are maybe taking a short break.
Like you said, Metni is in pit lane, Scott Blend in pit lane, Gilliland coming down, and I think the strategy there's obviously a couple ways that you can approach qualifying. You want to go as fast as you possibly can, but remember, you want to keep these tires for the race. You're going to be using these come race time this afternoon, so the more laps you do on them now, the less you're going to have in terms of that grip level once we come into the race. That's why a lot of these drivers, as soon as they put down a lap, they'll bring it into pit lane, and really unfortunate here for Musial 2.0. It looks like he's actually going to get held up just a touch on this lap. You see him flashing the lights, trying to get to the inside. I believe that's the 2:18, but unfortunately in terms of qualifying, this one's kind of out the window already.
Yeah, that at least that lap. So if Musial felt like he was on a good one, it's gone for now, and he had been flashing since the sole of the boot, so he kind of expected this was going to happen. But Groombridge, he's on his own lap out there, and It was kind of, I guess you could say, a two-way street on that one. It just unfortunately messed up both of them. Now, obviously, that did not improve, although Deshelski did. He is now within 2/10 of our pole sitter, Alan Metney, who still has not been touched by anybody else.
So that 48.0 is what Deshelski is chasing right now as we ride on board with Laura Eli in the number 209 car. Joe, still got the rubber ducky on the dash. You got to love to see it.
Yeah, no helmet on it still, but it is out there reporting what the G-forces are, which I've been kind of watching. At times you can see almost 1.5 G in some of the harder braking turns around this circuit. These Porsches really are impressive what they can do.
Let's see here. It looks like she might either be bringing the car in. This is definitely a cool down pace here in turn number 10, and she's staying off to driver's right, which is the commitment line for pit entry. I think she might already be on the pit lane speed limiter. That's why it's all lit up red. Get it down to speed, and then it goes green. She's good to go, and she's going to end her qualifying session.
Good news for fans of Francisco de Jesus. After a bit of an incident in yesterday's race, he's been able to repair it, and the car is out on track qualifying. He's got a personal best second sector, but he sits in 8th in class right now in the Masters. See if he can jump that one up.
I'm pointing something out because Danny Deshelski has just hit pit lane. Now, you brought up something earlier. He's only put down that one lap time because remember that first one didn't actually show up on the board. That sector 1 didn't show up on the board.
He's had more than one lap time. I do know that because he was kind of in the mid-pack and then he went back around and did a quicker one. But I don't think he would want that other
Correct.
lap.
I don't think that's up to Deshelski pace.
No, exactly. So, yeah, you bring up a good point. He can get back out there, and we can actually see his box from where we are up here in the booth, so I'll keep an eye and see if I see him go back out.
And I'm purely speculating here that if race control saw him go wide in turn number 1 and invalidated that lap time, that the team might not know that immediately unless they've got the timing and scoring pulled up and are reading everything. So that's going to be an interesting one.
I will say it looks like the crew members are checking the tire pressures right now, so I wonder if he wants a little bit of an adjustment. He feels like there's more in it out there. So it seems like there could be some tweaks on the way. Did not see an improvement from De Jesus. Just to follow up on that point, he stays in 8th place, but we're getting more and more cars that are in. Some have emerged. Scott Blend is back out there. While he is on pole in the Masters right now, Gilliland is only behind by roughly a little less than 1/10 of a second. And they are in 4th and 5th overall. If I know Scott Blend, he's looking for overall track position right now.
And that lap time's actually about a half second, maybe 3/4 of a second faster than what Blend did in practice yesterday. So already going faster and obviously has the confidence out here at Watkins Glen. He feels that the lap time can come down even more. You had mentioned he's already on that Masters class pole position, but if you can start on row number 1, it's better than row number 2.
Usually that's the case, yeah. So he's doing what he can to try and get that track position. It has looked somewhat tough to try and make overtakes here this weekend from what we saw in yesterday's race. So this could wind up being quite important for him. And he has plenty of time to get a couple laps in, although he went over the curb there. Is this a flying lap or is he on an out lap right now?
I am not
I think this is a flying lap. His first sector is at 25 seconds. So I wonder if that one's going to wind up being deleted or if because he was still on the drainage grate, but he was beyond what the curbs were. So as far as I was told, I believe the curbs were the limit.
We'll find out. We'll find out soon enough as he crosses the line. Looks like he stays at his fastest lap time of a 48.7. That last lap was a 49.5. So going to want to go a little bit faster, and it certainly looks like he's starting another flyer going up through turn number 2, right on those apex curbs. Same thing with the second part of the S's. Use up every single piece of width of this racetrack.
I'm looking down at Deshelski's pit, and I think I still see the door open on the car. So that probably means they're still talking to him, and we're getting down to 4 minutes left. He's going to have to get back out there or else he'll run out of time because they'll need at least 2 minutes probably to get an outlap going. I will say I was talking with Alex Ellis earlier this weekend, and Alex had told us that this was Danny's first time here at this track. And he said he noticed a difference between earlier in Danny's career and now. He said earlier he would have been very nervous at a new track like this. And this weekend, he seemed very calm, collected, kind of knew what to do to get himself up to speed. And he felt a sense of confidence from him.
That's always good to hear. That's what you want out of your racing car driver is confidence out there, because not only does it mean that they can attack the racetrack, but come race time, they actually have the confidence to go out there and go side by side, wheel to wheel with your competitors and make those aggressive passes. So it is good to see Danny pretty much immediately up to speed here at Watkins Glen. One of the fastest, one of the most intimidating racetracks. I mean, look at how close those guardrails are. And I know on these TV shots and these amazing overhead shots, they look pretty wide. However, it is a lot closer when you're sitting in one of those cars.
A couple of our photographers out on the track getting some good shots there as Blend will cross the line once again, but I'm not showing improvement, so whatever he was hoping for, unless it's quicker than his second lap, this won't do him much good. For those that missed it earlier, your top 2 laps set the grid for race 1 and 2. Fastest for race 1, second fastest for race 2. So he still could have some reason to be out there, but right now we're just not seeing it based on what we know of his quickest time.
Correct. It is off of his quickest time. However, I do look at the rest of the field, right, and call it from halfway on back is in the 150s. So even that last time, which he did, I believe it was a 149.8, should still slot him in kind of in the top 7. And if we're looking at the Masters class, it's still in the top 2.
Speaking of positioning, it looks like Therese Lalu still got 4th place, so she's having a very good qualifying session. I also want to give a nod to Laura Eli. She is 3rd in Masters right now. This is a great qualifying for her. Vitiello is behind her, though, by 1/100th of a second, so that could wind up being a very close fight if all he does is find a blink's worth of time out on track.
I'm going to expand on that point. 1/100th is Vitiello. Another 10th.5 is Willingham. 500ths back is Conley. I mean, there is a giant group between Laura Eli all the way down to Thomas Erb that's only separated by, call it about 1.1, 1.2 seconds.
Yeah, so mid-pack battle is probably going to be a really fun one out there. So we'll keep an eye on that during the race itself. We're down to 1 minute left on the clock here as we watch the 224 head down into the braking of the heel of the boot towards the end of the lap. Just a couple corners to nail from here.
Coming up to what I think is the trickiest corner here, turn number 9. It really does go uphill on entry and then flattens out over the crest at apex to exit, so the car naturally really gets unweighted as soon as you try to put down the power, which can oftentimes cause loose moments in the race car. And this is, of course, turn number 11, the final corner here at Watkins Glen. Got a lot of camber built into it, as well as lots of exit curb out there. Can be very aggressive.
Jody Miller will cross the line, and he stays 6th in class, so unable to improve. He's in that very close battle that we were talking about there in the mid-pack. So he just needs tiny improvements to get himself up there. We're down to just a couple seconds left. They're getting ready with the checkered flag down at the flag stand to wrap this one up, and there it is. So who is going to be our first driver across the line? Looks like that is the 221.
Yeah, that's Francisco de Jesus out there, and it's actually a very good lap. He's gone green, so that's personal best Sector 1, personal best Sector 2. His current time of 54.0. Looks like he is actually going to improve that just by a touch, but stay in the same position.
That's a shame. So his last try just doesn't do anything position-wise, but at least he found a good, consistent, quick lap there. The rest of them get ready to cross, and I think we're only waiting on Miller, the last of those, to try and wrap up here. Everybody else is pretty much on or in pit lane already. So Miller's the remaining car. If he chooses to finish it is the question. He is in Sector 3 right now, so he should be pretty close to wrapping this one up.
It did look like he had started a new flying lap out here, and I'll go ahead and check our marching ant, see exactly where he is. Looks like he's coming up into what is turn number 9 right now, which is that very, very tricky overcrest left-hander. So just kind of have to be patient. I'm looking at the sector times. Actually, Sector 2 looks slow, so he looks like he's probably coming in.
Yeah, I was just thinking he wasn't setting the world on fire there, so he's probably going to be parking it. Okay, so what this means now is that we have just a short break, and then we will be back with our second group in just a moment. But Metney is your fastest in Group 1 for the Pro-Ams, and Blend is fastest in the Masters for Group 1.
It's hard to contain your excitement when you get something you've really wanted. Like the gold standard in automotive protection, WeatherTech floor liners. With deep sculpted channels and laser measured for total protection in the front, back, and even up the sides.
Dad, you're going viral.
What? WeatherTech me.
So don't be shy, enjoy. Order your premium American-made products at WeatherTech.com.
Welcome back to Porsche Sprint Challenge North America GT3 Cup qualifying. It's time for Group 2. And after last round, saw a quickest time of 48.051 from Alan Metney. Everybody knows what their marker is to try and go catch. But we got some big players in this one in comparison to last time, Joey. We've got Kelly out there. We've got Cole Kleck out there. Some drivers that are trying to match their rivals in the championship.
It'll be a fun session to watch. Like you said, the Group A fastest time was a 1:48.0. So that is the carrot all of these drivers are going to go out there and chase. The other one that I noticed, obviously Cole Kleck in that bright orange number 211 out there, but we also have Matt Siegel in that 267 car. Remember yesterday in that makeup race from Road America that we had out here, he was in the thick of the action in the top 5.
He's been a revelation. Like I had been saying yesterday, we had that race, and he kind of had a bad start to things here in the North America Series after showing well in the West Series, and rebounded, got himself a good finish. And also we know that the speed is there because his qualifying has been good every single time. So watch out for Matt Siegel because he could be a real problem for our front runners on top of things. In the meantime, they get the tires warmed up, getting ready to go. The sun is continuing to climb higher in the sky, which means we've been warming up this cool pavement as it has been cool most of the weekend thus far. But these bright sunny skies have definitely changed the conditions.
I also really liked that Group A qualifying, seeing Metney out there with that fastest lap time. I've been kind of cross-referencing the practice times from yesterday along with our qualifying times here pre-lunch this morning, and it seems like most of the drivers and cars have picked up about 3/4 of a second, whether that's down to some brand new sticker tires or just the weather maybe being a little bit more sunshine and having a little bit more warmth and grip on the racetrack. That could also be a difference, but I'm expecting Cole Kleck to kind of mirror that, and that should put him pretty much identical with Metney's Group A qualifying time.
Well, and let's not forget that they need to carry these tires over too, so while they might be new, they've got to try and hold on to that rubber, especially at a track like this with so many fast corners, as we see Cole Kleck go by us at the start-finish line down into turn 1. Can he take the fight to Alan Metney? He hasn't raced against him for quite some time. In fact, not since they were at COTA. Race number 2 is the last time that Alan Metney was here, and he bested him in both races at COTA. So he's going to try and pick up where he left off.
Riding on board with that driver we're just talking about in this orange 211. Look at the speedometer, 162, 164 miles an hour before jumping on the brakes, and 100 miles an hour through that inner loop section. That's pretty much as fast as we have seen anybody all weekend long. 4th gear through what is known as the outer loop section, and it just continues to build speed. And now we go downhill here. Such a high speed, high commitment entry where you really have to balance the car, because if it steps out there, you are in some trouble.
Kelly was quickest of anybody in that first sector so far, or Kleck was rather, I should say. But we're waiting for the second sector to come in, and then to get everybody else kind of across that timing line to see where they stand up in comparison with one another. Caden Kelly, though, was slow in both the first sectors and for some reason was shown as stopped. Now I'm seeing an outlap for Caden, so something weird was going on with timing and scoring, but I know Joey's looking into that as we are watching Frank the Tank out there. Frank Vitiello bringing it down into the chutes here on the boot section of the circuit. Nice late apex. Oh, excuse me, that is the 214 that we're watching. That is Todd Treffert, so I had confused our red cars up a little bit. Apologies to Frank and to Todd. Todd on his first flying lap right now.
And just as you say, first flying lap, we have got a fast lap, a 1:48.08. Unfortunately, I think that is about 3/100ths of a second off of Metney's time. But guess what? That's only the first lap from Cole Kleck.
Indeed, and remember they need 2 of them. So yeah, even if that winds up being his quickest, that'll put him likely front row on the grid unless we see somebody go faster than Cole Kleck, which is going to be a difficult ask because a few drivers so far have been able to go quicker than him. Meanwhile, Melito on board, picking up the speed, heading down the backstretch all the way to top end before he just gets on the brakes, breezes it through this swift right-left down into the inner loop, and then it's back around the carousel section, heavily banked and quite a bit downhill.
Yeah, this is starting to really drive down the hill now, going into what is the laces of the boot. Just take a look down at the data in the bottom right-hand section of this screen. Look at the mile an hour that each one of these corners kind of presents to the driver. 130 miles an hour going in here, and you really have to drive the car into this corner because you have this elevation change where it really grips up and provides you that confidence to launch out of the corner. And once again, here on this short shoot straightaway, nearly 140 miles an hour before they hit the brakes. If you want to drive a fast racetrack, that was a huge loose moment. Tony Melito, hang on to her.
My goodness, properly crossed up on the wheel, and somehow the car is still pointing the right way. The question is, will this be a fast lap with that sort of incident? Certainly that sector, that third sector, not looking all that great because of that, but he'll come around the final turn and to the start-finish line. Let's see whether or not he actually puts a quick time in. Seeing another stopped from Hinkle. Again, I think we might be having a time and scoring issue. Melito up to third. So that was still a good lap. Also, seeing a number of cars with track limits violations, including Caden Kelly in the 208. He really needs some good results here today because he has to take the fight to Scott Blend. Also, the 277 has, that's Evan Hinkle, who's currently second. He's had a lap invalidated. And the 267... that is Matt Siegel. He sits in fifth right now.
I think I solved our little issue of presenting the stopped car and timing and scoring. Remember, this is qualifying, and so a lot of these drivers are slowing down a ton in sector number 3, primarily between turns number 9 and 10. So if they're just getting out of the way at a very slow pace, it's just kind of represented on timing and scoring. Grabs our eye, but they are still moving out there on the track.
Yeah, that does make sense out there. And you seem to want some track position around here, especially if you're kind of caught up around a car that is not going to be on pace with you. So Caden Kelly still doesn't have a time. Siegel doesn't have a time. And I see Dan Ammon without a time, but I'm not sure if he has actually been on track. He tends to focus on the other series for this one. So he might be calling it here just to kind of preserve things and focus on getting everything right for that Cayman. In the meantime, back around we go, down through the outer loop. Is this Evan Hinkle that we're looking at right now? Yeah. So Evan Hinkle's an interesting one because he shares that monoflow car with Tillman Schmid over the course of the year. The company essentially gives their employees a chance to go racing, which I think is amazingly cool. And they usually do have racing experience before, but they've been impressing, Evan Hinkle especially, because he went back-to-back podiums back at VIR, and this is his first time here competing at Watkins Glen.
And right now, I'm very impressed with our top 4, top 5. It looks like they're all in that 148, and oh my goodness, we have a new fast lap of the weekend. Cole Kleck just laid down a 147.4. That is over half a second faster than anybody out there.
I mean, I know it's a bit of a long-ish lap, but that's a pretty big chunk that he has managed to find over his rivals. Siegel, the one chasing, for reference, in this group, is 1.4 seconds behind in second place. Now, Kelly has now made his way up to the fastest of our masters, but he's also 1.5 seconds behind Kleck. We cannot stress how monster of a lap that was.
I really enjoyed watching what Cole did this qualifying session, and I'll kind of explain it to you briefly. He went out there on the outlap, got everything up to temperature, and did a first flying lap, and holy smokes, that was already fast. But what did he do on lap number 2? He actually slowed down. He cooled everything down in the car. That's why we noticed him maybe potentially even stopped on circuit. He wasn't stopped, just really making sure that he got everything back down into those operating temperatures, and then laid down the second qualifying lap, which was actually lap number 3 for him. I really like that strategy, knowing you got to put 2 in there.
We've been watching that 208 of Kelly cross the line. Doesn't look like an improvement, and no wonder. I was watching the onboard. There was a definite snap of oversteer coming through turn 9. The car struggling at this stage, not looking good for Caden Kelly. quickest time of a 48.9, whereas Blend was a 48.7. So it's about 0.2 off. That's not massive, but he'll want that track position over Scott Blend, because if I know Scott, if he's got track position, he'll defend it fiercely.
Well, to your point, this first sector from Caden Kelly, who we're watching right now, is actually a green sector. That means a personal fastest sector time. So we are in sector number 2 right now. Use up all of that racetrack, every single piece of width of asphalt. Caden Kelly is using it all right now down the hill into this boot section. It's going to be coming up to the end of sector number 2 here after this corner. That'll provide us our next reference point.
And yeah, should be here coming off of this latest corner through turn 7 and up the hill. And it's not a personal best. I guess it's there or thereabouts, but not sure. It'll really depend on this final sector on what he can do. Let's watch here coming through turn 9 how the car handles this time.
Nice and on the racing line, tucked into the apex curb. Don't see any big wiggles on exit there. Seems like the car put the power down nicely, and then it's just rolling the speed through 10. Don't give up too much of that mile an hour there at apex. Same thing here at 11. There's so much camber built into the racetrack. You got to trust the car and the grip level that it's going to give you. Caden Kelly's lap time of 1:48.9 currently on the board. Not going to improve it, but it does come very close to repeating that second effort of 49.4.
Diminishing returns, unfortunately, for the 208. Just not finding anything. Reinhold Kron, in the meantime, is sitting 4th in class, 8th overall. That last lap doesn't look like he went quicker that time. Kleck, Siegel, and Joel Johnson have all visited pit lane just now. We've got 8 minutes left. As we saw last time, drivers might be just changing some tire pressures, doing some small adjustments, or just cooling down equipment, and they'll get back out there likely for one more push.
Riding on board here, this 233 car going up into this inner loop. And just watch how aggressive, almost clipping that right-hand mirror on that guardrail on entry and then abusing those curbs throughout every single apex of that inner loop. That's how you have to attack this racetrack if you want to go fast.
Kron is another driver that has hopped over from the USA West Series last season to race here in the North America Series, but he's got a bit of a unique claim that not many here in the North American Series can say. He's also competed in Porsche Sprint Challenge Southern Europe. So he's a bit of a globetrotter in these cars.
That's pretty cool. Always get essentially track time in the same type of chassis, but on a different part of planet Earth. I think that's pretty neat.
Yeah, I'd love to see. I'll have to actually go and chat with him about that and see what sort of tracks they race on in that series, because I would think Southern Europe has some pretty good ones out there if you're thinking Spain, Germany, France, those sorts of areas, Italy potentially. Some real classics in there. This is out onto the main section of the track once again. Kron not showing improvement in his sectors, though.
No, I'm not sure if he's going to actually improve that lap time as we jump over to the 203 of Tony Melito, who's also going to be completing his lap. I did want to mention a name because we kind of glossed over it. Matt Siegel did put himself up into P2, so a nice job out of that silver number 267 as Melito crosses the line. Actually improves up to a 49.3. That slots him into what is 5th place overall in this Group B qualifying.
Yeah, Siegel, I think, would have put himself 5th in the Group A group. Now, I don't know. I guess 2 more in front, so that would have been, that's about 7th on the grid, I believe, then, for him as he sits right now. Yeah, not bad, but he'll have some work to do, I think, in the race. But the good news is he looks like he is on some good pace this weekend as it sits. Tony Melito right up against that barrier on the entry. Since they changed that in recent years, the inner loop, it's almost kind of like a street circuit now, with that Armco being more of your limit than the curbs itself. You have to get right up to the metal.
And to your point, I mean, just I believe it was last year, the NASCAR race, you know, SVG, everybody knows SVG's name now with how many road courses he's winning, but he actually unfortunately clipped that apex wall, and that's why he lost this race here this previous year. So to your point, yeah, you have to get all the way up next to it. The pros are doing it. If you want to be as fast as them, you got to do it too.
So Kron coming out. I always thought this car reminded me of a poison dart frog, if I'm honest. Yeah. Just kind of has that sort of paint scheme going with it. Very toxic colors, but so far he's been as fast as a frog hopping across this track, doing pretty decently with that fourth place in class time. He'll head into the cloud cover of the main straight and across the timing line. Again, not seeing some green sectors there, so not expecting this 49.4 to go lower, and indeed it stays where it is.
Remember how I was making the comment about Laura Eli and company and how packed that middle of the field was? This group here is just going to add to it. So most of those lap times were high 49s to low 50s. And I'm seeing, call it from 7th, where Treffert is, all the way down to Manship in 13th. That is all going to be packed into that same group.
We hadn't pointed out, Treffert and Cron set the fastest lap down to the 1,000th. They tied 49.496. So I don't know if our timing goes finer than 1,000th of a second. But whatever system they have, they've determined that Treffert gets the position.
Usually when that happens in qualifying, whoever puts down the lap time first gets to keep that lap time.
Exactly. And Todd may have managed to put down what is 7th on the grid before Cron was able to match him out there. So no wonder we've still got Reinhold trying to see if he can just get that little bit quicker. He only needs 1,000th of a second faster, and we've got 3.5 minutes left to go to try and determine it.
Something just caught my eye out on the racetrack, and you can actually see it on timing and scoring as we watch the 203 here climb up in this short shoot straightaway. But it's Caden Kelly. See that O, that orange O next to his name? That means he is on an out lap. Now, we have seen Caden Kelly. Remember back at Road America, he took a pause in qualifying in the middle of it and then came back and actually improved his lap time. Certainly seems like they're trying to rinse and repeat. Literally.
Yeah, and he's got just enough time for one, maybe two laps. Again, it's about 0.2 of a second that he needs to try and catch Scott Blend, who is his pole sitter currently in class, in that Masters class. And that's really Kelly's main concern in terms of points. Now, the qualifying doesn't count for any sort of points, as I think that was Melito heading into pit lane. I can confirm that Cron is also down to his Charlie Hayes Racing pit box as well. So here's on board with Caden Kelly. This is up along the sole of the boot, down into turn 8.
Just going to be prepping for this next timed lap, because this is the out lap, of course, for this 2:08 here. So going to be taking it easy up through turn number 9, just kind of gently roll on the throttle here. You see Caden just kind of not even getting to 100% throttle until he's actually on the straightaway. Let's see what he actually does in turn number 11, this next right-hander to set it up. He is already on 10-10, so he is at full speed to enter turn number 11. That is his qualifying strategy, hard on the gas and accelerating your way to try to improve that qualifying effort.
And I tell you what, he has shown up at the theme park, and there is no line for the roller coaster. He's the only car out there other than Todd Treffert right now. So he is as clear as it gets, and we're going to be watching very closely to see what kind of lap times he does.
And to your point, I mean, the two cars that are on the racetrack are on complete opposite sides of the – I mean, they can't even hear each other at this point.
So these two teams have picked this timing out perfectly. It's way too late for any of these other teams to get back out with less than a minute and a half to go. Ooh, that was a lot of inside curb there that time from Caden Kelly, being aggressive with it. He has given it his all.
100%, and I just look at the minimum rolling speeds in comparison. Now, I know that Cole Kleck is significantly faster than the majority of the field, but he's the reference, and he was carrying about 100, maybe 101 miles an hour through that inner loop, while we saw Caden Kelly about the 94, 95 mile an hour range. So I'm sure that they probably even went back and looked at data on pit lane, and that's one of the reasons why Caden Kelly's probably out there trying to improve again.
His first – oh, we got a yellow flag. I'm going to guess that's Treffert because we're looking at Kelly. Treffert was showing as stopped for a brief moment, but now it seems like he might be going.
But it's not a full course yellow.
Okay. You're right. That interesting. Okay, so that's good news for Kelly here. Yeah, because usually it would be a red flag. You're right.
And I'm wondering if it's just something popping up. Oh, no, there was the car very, very slow in between 9 and 10, so Caden Kelly was able to get by. They are not throwing a red flag or full course yellow. That car looks like it will be able to get back to the paddock, so the 208 still on time, trying to get this lap in, and he's actually going to get another.
Wow. And that lap was not an improvement, 48.9. He did have to slow down for that second sector. We're seeing the information that Treffert had an off in turn 9. Now, usually if you have something go wrong there, the barrier is pretty close to the exit, but he was able to limp it home, so we'll see.
I think the biggest story here, though, is that Caden Kelly got to the line so he can complete this qualifying lap if he feels like it's going to be going faster. Let's check the minimum speed. Oh, much faster through the inner loop, this time by about 5 miles an hour. He is on it.
I mean, that might make the difference because his first sector was not an improvement. It does look like it was relatively quick, though. Just doesn't seem as though he's going to be able to catch the time, at least sort of keep it even maybe in that first sector. Now we approach that next timing line here out of the toe of the boot.
And nice and smooth on the wheel. You saw a couple little corrections right in the middle of the corner, but for the most part the car was nice and settled, planted. I don't see a personal best sector, but it is relatively on pace. He has got a handful of corners. That was a big moment of oversteer as the car kind of jumped over that apex curb. Got to limit those little itty-bitty mistakes if you want to go faster. And once again, fighting the car up over the crest at 9.
I mean, I got to give credit to Caden here because he's doing everything he can to take the fight to Scott Glenn. He's not giving up on this. He knows that he can't just rest on his laurels with good enough. He needs to go for the best possible. And even if he doesn't take that pole away here, I love to see the effort he is putting in. And he does not take that pole position. He will stay in second in Masters. But he is our quickest in this group, Caden Kelly. And Cole Kleck was our quickest in the Pro-Am in that class. So that's everybody done with this one. And we'll get you the overall order when we go to the grid for the race itself. But first up, we'll have the Porsche Caymans starting things off this afternoon here at Watkins Glen. So don't go away.